Have you ever pondered what unseen threats might lurk within your daily life? Let's pull back the curtain on one such hidden danger, one that is as pervasive as it is minuscule: microplastics. They may sound like something from a science fiction novel, but they are very much a part of our reality. Microplastics, as the name suggests, are tiny particles of plastic, less than 5 millimeters in length. They're so minute that they're invisible to the naked eye, but don't let their size fool you. These tiny fragments can be found everywhere, from the depths of the ocean to the peak of Mount Everest, and yes, even in your morning cup of coffee. So where do these infinitesimal intruders come from? The answer is closer than you might think. They originate from a variety of everyday sources, many of which are likely present in your home right now. Take a look at your wardrobe. Synthetic clothing, such as your favorite fleece jacket or yoga pants, is a major contributor. Every time you wash these items, thousands of microfibers are released into the water, making their way into our rivers and oceans. Then there's packaging material. That bubble wrap you pop for fun or the disposable water bottle you just tossed. They break down into microplastics over time. And let's not forget beauty products. Many scrubs, toothpastes, and shower gels contain microbeads, another form of microplastics. These tiny particles have become omnipresent, infiltrating every corner of our environment, from the air we breathe to the water we drink and the food we consume. Microplastics, these tiny invaders, have infiltrated our lives without us even noticing. But now that we've unmasked them, it's time to delve deeper into their journey, their impact on our health and the environment, and most importantly, what we can do to combat this invisible threat. Stay tuned, because this is a conversation we need to have. So, how do these minuscule particles embark on their journey into our world? Microplastics, small fragments less than 5 millimeters in length, often originate from larger plastic debris that degrades into smaller and smaller pieces. Picture this. You're at home, enjoying a takeaway dinner from your favorite restaurant. The food arrives in a plastic container, which you toss in the recycling bin once you're done. If this container isn't properly recycled, it can end up in a landfill, where it begins to break down into tiny bits due to weathering and exposure to the elements. But that's not the only source. Microplastics are also intentionally produced for certain products. For instance, microbeads, tiny spheres of plastic, are often used in cosmetics and personal care products. When you wash your face or brush your teeth, these microbeads can go down the drain, pass through wastewater treatment plants, and end up in our rivers and seas. Once in the water, these plastic particles begin a journey that can take them across the globe. Carried by ocean currents, they can reach the most remote corners of our planet, from the icy shores of the Arctic to the deepest trenches of the Pacific. They infiltrate every layer of the ocean and can be found swirling in gyres, sinking into the seafloor, or even frozen into Arctic ice. These microplastics don't just stay in the water, though. They can be ingested by marine animals, thus entering the food chain. From plankton to whales, no creature is immune. And it's not just aquatic life that's affected. Microplastics have been found in soils, in the air we breathe, and even in the most remote mountain ranges. But what's even more alarming is that these tiny particles can absorb and carry other pollutants, like heavy metals and harmful chemicals, amplifying their potential harm to ecosystems and to us. Indeed, the journey of a microplastic is a global voyage, affecting environments far and wide. Let's take a closer look at how this journey impacts both human health and the environment in our next segment. Is our health at risk due to these invisible invaders? This question is not just hyperbole, it's a real concern. Microplastics, these tiny fragments of plastic less than 5 millimeters in size, pose potential health risks to us humans. They have intruded every corner of our environment, from the deepest oceans to the highest mountains, and now even our bodies. But how exactly do these microplastics enter our bodies? One of the primary routes is through ingestion. Microplastics have been found in the seafood we eat, the tap water we drink, and even in the air we breathe. They've been discovered in table salt, honey, and beer. It's almost as if these minute particles are staging a silent invasion on our diet, infiltrating our bodies bit by bit. Another route is inhalation. Microplastics are airborne. They're in the dust that settles on our furniture and the air that circulates around our homes and offices. Every time we take a breath, we could be inhaling these minuscule particles. But what happens when these microplastics enter our bodies? Well, that's where things get a little murky. The truth is, we don't fully understand the health implications yet. Some studies suggest microplastics can accumulate in our organs and tissues, potentially causing inflammation or even cellular damage. Other research points to potential disruptions in our hormonal systems. There's also a concern about the chemicals these plastics carry. Plastics are known to contain and absorb harmful substances, like pesticides and heavy metals. When ingested, these chemicals could potentially leach into our bodies, adding another layer of risk. It's a complex issue and research is ongoing. But one thing is clear, we're not just dealing with an environmental problem here, it's a potential health crisis too. The World Health Organization is calling for a further assessment of microplastics in our environment and their potential impacts on human health. So, are we at risk? The answer is still unfolding, but what we do know is that the presence of microplastics in our bodies is a stark reminder of how deeply our lives are entwined with plastic. Our bodies are becoming unwilling hosts to these minute invaders, with potential consequences yet to be fully understood. Does the environment bear the brunt of this microplastic invasion? This question takes us on a journey into the heart of our ecosystems, where the silent and invisible threat of microplastics wreaks havoc. The impact of microplastics on the environment is extensive and distressing. These minuscule particles, often no bigger than a sesame seed, are infiltrating every corner of our natural world. From the deepest ocean trenches to the highest mountain peaks, no place is immune to their reach. In the marine world, microplastics are like wolves in sheep's clothing. They might seem harmless, but their effects are anything but. Fish, seabirds, and marine mammals mistake these tiny particles for food. Consuming microplastics not only fills their stomachs with indigestible material, but also exposes them to harmful chemicals. Over time, these chemicals can cause a host of health problems, from reproductive issues to decreased growth rates. But the damage doesn't stop there. Microplastics also disrupt the natural food chain. When small creatures ingest microplastics and are eaten by larger predators, the plastics and their associated toxins accumulate up the food chain. This process, known as biomagnification, can lead to toxic levels in top predators, causing population declines and threatening biodiversity. Microplastics also pose a threat to terrestrial ecosystems. They can be found in our soils, carried there by wind and water. These particles can alter the physical and chemical properties of the soil, affecting plant growth and the organisms that rely on these plants. And let's not forget about freshwater systems. Rivers, lakes, and even the rain are not safe from microplastics. They impact the health and survival of aquatic life in these ecosystems, again disrupting food chains and posing a risk to biodiversity. Our environment is silently bearing the brunt of this microplastic invasion, with repercussions echoing through the food chain. We need to recognize the gravity of this situation and take collective action to mitigate the effects of these hidden threats in our daily lives. After all, our actions today will determine the health of our planet tomorrow. Are we helpless in the face of this microplastic menace? Far from it. Each one of us has the power to take action. The first step is to reduce our plastic consumption. Choose alternatives to single-use plastic items like cloth shopping bags, glass containers, and metal straws. Recycling is another key player in this fight. Ensure that your plastic waste is properly sorted and sent to recycling facilities. But remember, not all plastics are recyclable. Know your plastics and make informed purchasing decisions. And let's not forget about supporting research and innovation. From engineering bacteria that eat plastic to developing biodegradable alternatives, scientists are working tirelessly on solutions. We can back these efforts by advocating for funding, spreading awareness, and encouraging sustainable policies. We can also contribute by educating ourselves and others about the microplastic problem. Knowledge is power, and sharing that knowledge can lead to collective action. Our actions today will shape the microplastic narrative of tomorrow. Let's make a change for the better. So, where does this leave us in the face of the microplastic challenge? We've delved into the unseen world of microplastics, traced their journey from our homes to the environment, and shed light on their potential impacts on both human health and our natural world. These tiny particles, products of our daily lives, are a silent testament to our relationship with plastic. Understanding the microplastic issue is essential, not only for scientists and researchers, but for each and every one of us. It's about recognizing our role in the story, acknowledging the footprint we leave behind, and understanding that our choices today can shape the world of tomorrow. We can all contribute to the solution. By being more conscious of our plastic usage, reducing, reusing and recycling, we can help mitigate the microplastic problem. Every small step counts towards a larger goal. In the end, the fight against microplastics is not just a scientific challenge, but a societal one, and it begins with awareness.